Welcome traders, my name is Adam from Trade with Precision and welcome to Vantage Markets Inside the Chart. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the dollar. So this last week we saw that dollar actually starting to strengthen. Non-farm payroll jobs results were not that bad. So there's a lot of obviously anticipated negative news coming out. One of the things I have noticed is that jobs numbers have been revised down quite drastically. That being said, the economy actually currently is quite robust and is holding up well so far. We can see the dollar strengthening within this downtrend. So what I'm looking for this week is to see if we ultimately produce a bearish candle, indecision candle by the end of the week. And subsequently, we're going to be coming up and testing resistance. And therefore, in the coming weeks, we'll be head lower. That's really what I'll be looking for this week. But I do anticipate, at least shorter term, the possibility of a stronger dollar. We have a look at euro dollar again. It wouldn't surprise me to see euro dollar heading down towards 1.12. That makes a lot of sense, especially if we break the low of this low. Again, with sterling, you can see that rejection. We've got a couple of rejections here. That's effectively a double top. If we go here, go look at this from a daily perspective, you can see we've got a double top. No real bearish divergence there, but a deeper correction would actually make sense. Going back to that weekly, I wouldn't be surprised to see if we have a little bit of a deeper retracement. If we have a look now at Aussie dollar, US dollar, that's looking really nice and strong. Here we have this very strong bullish divergence, really massive bullish green candle. So the momentum on Aussie dollar, at least Aussie dollar, US dollar, is much more to the upside. So from this perspective, I do expect that to push a little bit higher. Kiwi dollar, although it is now in an uptrend, I expect it to change trend. Any kind of moves to the downside could provide some decent buying opportunities. We've even got a bullish candle here in the buy zone here, so we could find that price ultimately, if it breaks the high, we could see it continue up. There will be a little bit of resistance there on the side. You could see price battling with that. Alternatively, again, we could see it knock back a little bit. For the most part, I still anticipate a slightly weaker dollar in the coming weeks, but possibly not necessarily just this week. Dollar yen now has an uptrend on the daily. So a big part of this is as soon as I see a change of trend on that, and when I have a look at it from a weekly perspective, now it sort of makes sense to me that we can see price heading back up towards that 146, 147 level, testing that for resistance again. And largely over here, we're bouncing off a good, strong level of support. So it wouldn't really surprise me again to see that. And that does support the idea of a stronger US dollar. Dollar CAD as well, a bit overextended, really not able to change anything. Look at this, the last 3 weeks, we're just staying in this area at the top of that range. When you look at it from a monthly perspective, we're really trying to determine whether we could stay out of this range, but it's looking less and less as though that is going to be the case. More and more likely that we will see dollar CAD head a little bit lower. And then finally here with dollar Swissy, yes, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see this head up a little bit higher, find resistance around about that 0.84 level, and then continue to head down. Let's have a quick look at gold. So gold starting that weekly retracement. Overall, the trend still appears to be very healthy to me, and so therefore my expectation here is that we'll see a little bit of a move down lower, but ultimately wouldn't even surprise me to see if we finish. Wouldn't surprise me to see if we finish higher. We do have some FOMC coming out this week, so there could be not necessarily any rate cuts, but there could be something with regards to the press conference, and there could be some announcements made or concerns over the economy. We'll see how that ultimately plays out. Let's go and have a look at the global indices here. So the global indices, let's have a look. There we go. Sorry about that. Waiting for that refresh. Okay, so currently we are still sitting below that 50 period on the weekly. Although we do have high lows and it looks incredibly bullish, I am concerned, ladies and gentlemen. This is just too much of a bullish reaction, considering that none of the news has got any better, that in fact it's actually got worse, that we still haven't seen the knock-on effect of the empty ports leading to lower deliveries by trucks to empty shelves in the stores. I'm not really convinced that we're going to see any of that. We've got no rate cuts. It's a tricky thing to see how the market is that robust. To me, this seems more, of course I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I think it's more likely that we're seeing a knee-jerk reaction to buying because there's a nice discount in price. So I'm just a little bit more cautious. And again, on the weekly, what I'm really looking for here, we'll see how FOMC plays out. But if we do close back up above that 50-period moving average, then I will reassess and switch to a more bullish position. Again, here, that S&P just sitting underneath that, and it looks super, super bullish. Looking at it purely from a technical perspective, and Nick would say the same as well. We would say this is bullish, and therefore we would prepare, especially if we break the high, that we would continue to trade to the upside, and that's it. It is that simple. If we have a look at the NASDAQ as well, again, also we're just peaking over that 50-period moving average, which puts us back into that bullish territory. But for me, something about this is super bullish. It's a really quick bounce. Something about this is a little bit off to me, but it is bullish. All right, we look at it this way. The technicals are saying go higher. And taking that into account, if I go back down to the daily, now that would then put me in a position to do is start looking for any kind of pullbacks. Now, especially if price comes back down towards that 50-period moving average, and then looking for buying opportunities. Now, what I would say is this: is if I start to see the Dow and the S&P starting to push even higher, especially in the early parts of the week, then I would start to shift into a more bullish approach. Let's have a look at the FTSE 100. FTSE 100 very, very bullish at the moment. Looking at it now from a weekly perspective, that is well above and has actually been above that. That looks super bullish. The DAX as well, really, really strong at this point in time. And in fact, there's no divergence here. We've got a lower high in price. We've got lower highs here. So this looks particularly nice and bullish. So far, the markets are holding up. That is really the long story short. Let's have a quick look at crude oil. Beautiful pullback into the moving averages. For now, I expect this to continue to head lower. The only thing I draw your attention to here is, of course, that we've broken through a key level of support. And therefore, $50, even $40 is now very much on the table. Thank you very much, guys, ladies and gents. Have a good week. Pay attention to FOMC this week. Trade cautiously for now, and let's see how the week ultimately plays out. Thank you.